Hey, it's Chris. Welcome to my unboxing and first impressions, my early review of the new AirPods 3rd generation. I'm excited about this. You know, it's been a long time since the AirPods, just the regular AirPods, got updated. So these are the 3s. In between the 2s and the 3s, Apple came out with the AirPods Pro and the AirPods Max. That's how long it's been. Right off the bat. Let me just tell you, as soon as I took this out, I realized this case feels so small compared to the AirPods Pro that I've been used to. This design though is very different. I like it. It's a good design. The stems are like 33% shorter or something like that. They just look nice and futuristic still. If you ask me, the AirPods still have a signature look about them, which I think is important. You know, a lot of ripoffs came out that tried to look like the AirPods, but you know, there's nothing like the real thing. And I still like the look. Although, I mean, it'd be cool if they came in black or some other colors too, you know, I'm just saying. But I like the white. I can tell you right now though, the big question for me on these is gonna be the noise isolation. In other words, how is it at blocking out ambient noises, outside sounds? Because the big difference here between these and the Pros, I mean, there's other differences, but the big thing here is there's no noise cancellation. So I'm curious, how good is that isolation? Just in terms of newness though, there's some good stuff. There's upgraded sound. We have spatial audio, gonna really talk about that here in a second. If you're new to that, they're more durable. IPX4 water resistance. This is good for people who wanna take these to the gym. And importantly, better battery life. That matters. Now what I'm gonna do is pop one of these in so you can kind of see what it looks like to be worn. Oh, that fits a little bit differently. We're gonna talk about the fit, but I just wanna say the best thing about AirPods is really the easy setup and how they integrate with the Apple ecosystem. They're so easy to use. It's just effortless and you can't beat it. You know, auto device switching, some people love it. Some people are like, I'm gonna turn that off. But it's so easy to just use these with the iPhone, switch to the iPad. If I wanna go and not disturb anybody while I'm listening to something with the Apple TV, I can just do all of this seamlessly, effortlessly. All right, so let's do some audio testing here. You know, I got my trusty Andy Mineo ready, locked and loaded. All right, so here's the thing. As expected, the noise isolation isn't great, but that can be a good thing or a bad thing. If you want noise isolation, you get something that fits your ear better, tighter. You get something like the AirPods Pro, okay? But if you're walking down the street and you don't wanna get hit by a bus, maybe you don't wanna block out every sound, right? It's different stuff for different people is gonna make the most sense. The huge, enormous upside to these AirPods for me, if you're just asking me straight up, like why buy these? For me, aside from the convenience, it's just how they fit. Now, it's a redesigned fit here and it's gonna fit a lot of people. It's not gonna fit everybody. That's just a downside to this sort of a design, but they're so comfortable. It's like wearing nothing in your ears. I'm forgetting about having AirPods in when I wear them normally. And these I don't think are gonna be any different. They're so light and comfortable. So for me, what that equates to is like marathon wearing. I can just stick these in and keep them in for several hours while I'm working. So maybe I'm editing video or something, whatever it is that you do, substitute that here. I'm taking phone calls, right? I'm using Siri. I'm asking about my day with the calendar, making reminders, what's the weather like, et cetera, et cetera. I got the announce messages on, so if somebody texts me, I can just respond hands-free without breaking a sweat, not switching up whatever I'm doing. So these are like assistants that live in my ears comfortably throughout the day, and they also happen to listen to music and pipe in audio from podcasts or whatever else, right? That's how I'm viewing these. And they're perfect for that. Now, as you're listening to music, you have to understand that the acoustic driver and the amp inside of these things has been completely redesigned. What did they redesign it to be like? They redesigned it to be more like the AirPods Pro. That's not a bad thing. At the same time, these earbuds are open style. You know, you can find something that's gonna be bassier than these, but I'm listening to some Andy Mineo right now, the new Neverland 2, and the bass is not disappointing me, right? I know what to expect going in. These aren't AirPods Max, but the bass is great here. Honestly, I'm not complaining. If somebody's out there complaining, I think that they're just being cynical. So I'll give you a longer term use case review in 3 months or something, 6 months, and let you know like how did this sound really measure up with some heavy usage. But for now, I'm just saying it's a full sound. It's good. It's dialed in the places that it needs to be for the price point. Hey, let me just say, if you're liking the vibe of this video, why not take a second and get subscribed? There's lots of Apple content hitting the channel all the time. with the same vibe. Now, something that's interesting here that I don't know that I can really comment on at the moment is this adaptive EQ that's new here. So there's an inner mic that is facing inside and it's listening to what you're hearing. And then it's trying to adapt things and make sure that it's sounding really good. The thing is, I can't really tell what it's doing. It's just happening to me. And I guess the best I can do is say, things are sounding good, things are enjoyable, but I can't tell you that that's making a huge, enormous difference right now. But it's cool that it's there. It's not hurting anything, I'll say that. The other thing about that is that that's Apple's way of addressing AirPods. These AirPods in particular are gonna fit everybody differently. So this adaptive EQ is trying to say, okay, your ear shape is this and your ear shape is that, and we're gonna dial things in for each of you differently. Even though the actual style, the shape of the AirPods doesn't change because there's no tips, right? Like on the AirPods Pro that you can manually adjust yourself. All right, so with previous AirPods, just regular AirPods, there was tap controls. Those are gone. So right now what you have are these buttons and they're gonna control the media. So you're able to fast forward, right? Skip a track, play, pause, those kinds of things, which is good. But one thing that some people may not like is that you can't remap these. So if you would prefer to customize those actions and have them do something else, not really gonna be able to do that. There's also no volume adjusting happening here other than just manually adjusting on your iPhone or having to use Siri. And some people are gonna like that. They're gonna be okay with that. Some people are not gonna like that. Personally, I'm gonna use these a lot at my desk, right? With the MacBook Pro, and it's real easy to just hit the buttons and adjust things that way. You know, you can go into Control Center, adjust the volume. You know, there's ways around it. For me, I don't find that to be a huge thing. I don't really care about that. I just use them and live, and it all works out. I'm really excited that we've got wireless charging now with MagSafe. Now, it's not reverse wireless charging, so you can't stick this on the back of your iPhone and get it charging that way, but it's gonna work with Apple's MagSafe puck. So let me just say, with the AirPods Pro, I have loved, it's my preferred method, using the wireless charging. And I wouldn't want to not have that. Once you have it, for me, you don't wanna go back because it's so convenient. Just set it down. You don't have to worry about where's the cord and plugging it in or anything. Of course, you still got the lightning, but I'm never gonna use that. Now, while we're talking about charging, let's talk about battery. Apple says that you're gonna get 6 hours of continuous listening, okay? That's not bad. You're not gonna listen to these for 6 hours a day, probably, right? Who would do that? Somebody maybe will. But you can bump that up to 30 hours, something like 30 hours, if you also include the case. Now, that is an improvement. In the past, the way Apple phrased battery life on the AirPods 2 was that it would last slightly over 24 hours, I think. So you can get up to 30 hours here. You are getting better battery. I guess whether that's a lot or a little to you is just gonna depend on how you use them. For me though, you know, even with the Pros and with these, I'm able to get enough uses out of them for a couple of days that it doesn't really matter too much. Something that's really, really cool here is the skin detect sensor. This is new, and so this is an improvement. What Apple actually has is a way to know that your AirPods are against some skin versus when they're in a pocket or something. So in the old AirPods, if you took these out and stashed them in your pocket real quick because you had to have a conversation or something or whatever, then sometimes they would start playing. And, you know, it was just a pain because maybe something's turning on, you don't want it to be because it thinks that it's playing. Now, with the skin detect sensor, that should improve. I haven't had enough time with them to tell you, since it's just a first impressions video, how well that works. Unfortunately, it's the kind of thing where you're not gonna notice it if it's doing its job because it's not bugging you, but I think it's gonna be a nice little improvement. Let's talk about spatial audio. These are the first regular AirPods to get spatial audio. AKA, it's basically like head tracking. So if you're listening to music or you're watching some content on your iPad, for instance, then those devices can track your head so that when you move around, the sound adjusts accordingly. It's actually really cool, especially when you're watching something. If you're streaming some content, you know, there's several places where you can stream the big names, Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus. It works really well. The first time I ever tried spatial audio might have been when The Mandalorian was brand new, and I really, really liked it on my iPad. It made it a lot more immersive, a lot more fun, and so I'm really glad. If you're gonna be using this for watching any kind of content, you are really gonna like the spatial audio. It's a little bit different of a story when it comes to music. With the music, I feel like we're kind of in the early innings. There's a lot of potential, and sometimes potential pans out, and sometimes potential fizzles out. And so I don't know what's gonna happen in that realm. Again, this is under the category of it's not gonna hurt anything, right? Some songs I can really notice it on, but it's not on every song. Maybe some of your favorite songs are not gonna have this to even play around with. And even if they do, it depends on the person who mixed it and put it all together, whether or not it's gonna have a big impact. So I would probably just say the jury's out when it comes to spatial audio and music, but it's really, really fun for content. And I mean, really fun. You will notice it. Okay, see ya. Okay, let's talk about call quality, voice quality, both how I'm hearing voices when I do a phone call or a FaceTime and how I sound to other people. So just did some test calling, and my initial impressions are that for this type of a product, the voice sounds pretty clear when I'm hearing people. And their feedback to me was that they can still tell that I'm not just directly on the phone, but I think you can do that. You can say the same thing about any wireless earbud product, right? People just know when you're on Bluetooth. That said, it was clear, it was crispy, but it did sound a little bit better. They noticed when I just jumped onto the iPhone itself and was talking that way. But if you're on a FaceTime call, for instance, or Zoom meeting, whatever, Cisco, these are gonna work so good. People will be able to understand you. I'm confident of that just based on previous experience and just the testing I've done right now, things are clear. Now, here's the thing, everyone's ears are different, but I know people are gonna be like, well, does it fall out? Could you work out with these? These are not coming out of my ears. In fact, if I wanted to, I couldn't get them to come out of my ears. So I would actually feel really confident. I can just tell they fit differently than the old AirPods. I'd feel really confident working out with these. There probably are other earbuds that are more tuned to people doing, serious physical activity. But that said, for me, these are gonna fit really well for doing some exercise stuff. So yeah, I mean, if your old AirPods are like out of battery, can't hold a charge like they used to, and you're just like, well, should I upgrade? I think it's just a no-brainer. AirPods are awesome. They set the standard. I think that these are probably gonna sound better than like the Sonys, for instance. I think something like the Samsungs might sound a little bit better, but what you're gonna end up missing out on is the convenience of integrating this into the Apple ecosystem. And that's a huge, huge, huge plus. If you want your Andy Mineo to just sound as good as humanly possible for wireless earbuds, yeah, I think you'll find something out there if you dig around that probably could top it. I don't know that you're gonna notice all that much though, because these sound really, really good. I mean, really good. But at the same time, I would never look in another direction just because I am so immersed in the ecosystem. These are my go-to. And I would not regret at all using these in any way, shape, or form. I love them. So there you go. Those are my first impressions. Needless to say, I'm very impressed. I did expect to be, but I was on the lookout for anything that might be disappointing. If you ask me right now, would I prefer the AirPods Pro versus these regular AirPods? That's a tough one for me. There's good and bad. There are situations when I wouldn't want the noise isolation, but probably more of the time for me, I would prefer to have the noise canceling and the isolation a little bit better. So because of that, I mean, I might still steer towards the pros, but if I had these, I would use them, I would love them, life would be good, and so I wouldn't complain. That's a fact. All right, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. If you have questions, let me know. If there's something you want for the longer term review, let me know. Ask those questions down below. Otherwise, I'll hit the obvious stuff. Make sure that you're following @DailyTech, spelled Daily TEKK on Instagram and Twitter. There's a lot of stuff happening over there that doesn't make it onto this channel here. So if you want the full Daily Tech experience, that's what you got to do. Get subscribed there. There's some interesting links down in the description that you can explore, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.